So I always admit where I get things wrong, and I've got something wrong. So earlier in the week, I did a video about the MX1, and I did a video specifically on the USB ports on the MX1, and I made the bold statement that all the ARIA gear will work on the non-powered USB ports. Guess what? I got that wrong. So when I was thinking about it, I was thinking of all the original, well, all the ARIA gear that I probably have in the studio. So I have a System 8, a System 1, a TB3, a TR8, and an MX1. I do not have a VT-3, a VT-4, or TRS-8. Sorry, TR8S. Get that right. Okay. And the reason why I don't have a vocoder, if I'm brutally honest, is because my singing voice is damn awful. So I had one on test when I was quite a while ago, and I decided not to buy it. The VT-4 for the same reason, and the TR8S I'm on the fence about because I really would like it, but I can't justify getting rid of my original TR8 because I like it so much. So the thing that doesn't work on the MX1 is the VT-4. So you may say, what is the VT-4? So before I go into that, let's have a quick shifty. So the VT-3 and the VT-4, so the VT-4 is an upgrade to the VT-3. That's what the VT-3 looked like. Okay, a few years ago that came out with a nice green stripe around it, like all the ARIA gear at the time. And there's the VT-4 without the green stripe around it, but that's the upgraded version of that. If you look at the back of these machines, which is where all the technical stuff happens, as in all the wires go in and out of, on the VT-3 you can clearly see a DC supply input underneath the T, and on the VT-4 there is none. There's just a USB power. Now this one can work on the non-USB ports, this one cannot, which is really interesting. So and I also checked the TR8S. The TR8S pulls 2000 milliamps, and a typical USB socket will only run to probably a top 1000 milliamps. Most of the boutique equipment runs at 500 milliamps. The VT-3 can be powered from the MX1 if you plug it into it, because it draws 380 milliamps, and the VT-4 pulls 500 milliamps, which is very, very close to the boutique. So I wonder whether the same circuitry in the boutique is now appearing in the ARIA, or one way around. But what's very interesting about the VT-4 is the fact that if you look at the front, there is a button there that says Phantom Mic, Rear Mic. Okay, so the VT-4 can actually run a Phantom mic, which is very interesting actually from a VT-4 perspective. But I'm not quite sure it's great from a performance perspective, and I'll explain why. So the VT-4 also runs on batteries, whereas the VT-3 I don't believe ever did. And what they state is that you'll get 6 hours of life on the batteries if you were to run the VT-4 without phantom power, and you get 4 hours with phantom power. What's very interesting between the two is there's 120 milliamps of current required to run effectively the phantom power, is the way I read this. But that 120 milliamps doesn't really quite seem like enough power to run a phantom power supply. So either the circuitry in the VT-4 is more efficient than it was in the VT-3, or it's still a little underpowered. We shall see. I haven't got a VT-4, so I can't give you an upgrade on that. But if you were to run this battery, then I would question whether 6 hours is enough for a live gig, given the time that you arrive, set up, sound check, and then do the gig. And definitely 4 hours is not enough if you're going to run it phantom power. So you would need to run, I would imagine, all times the VT-4 on power, which basically means that if you're not running it off a powered port on the MX1, you will need to run it off a non-powered port on the MX1 and provide power using a USB power data splitter cable. So that's the VT-4, and while I was sitting there thinking about the VT-4, I sort of started doing some research on the VT-4 and thinking to myself, well, what does the VT-4 actually give you over the VT-3? And that's an interesting question, because when I was in the toy shop in the last week or so, I looked this up. These two items, so this one was 3 years ago, this one's the modern one, but they are still retailing in the shop. I would expect this to be discounted by now, but this is still retailing for about £180, and this is retailing for £180 as well. So would I buy one over the other? Well, actually looking at this, I probably would now buy the VT-4 over the VT-3. So why the VT-3 isn't discounted, I don't know. And here are my reasons why I would buy the VT-4 over the VT-3, even if the VT-3 was discounted, if you follow the logic. So if you look at the front of this, you'll know the primary difference between this and this unit appears to be the jog wheel, the big wheel in the centre of the unit. Okay, and on this unit, the big wheel sets the effect that is going to be applied to the signal coming in. So you had the ability to apply a vocoder, a synth, a lead, a bass, a megaphone, radio, scatter, direct, auto pitch 1 and auto pitch 2. Okay, they were the effects, and then the sliders were, you know, where did you want the pitch, what format do you want, what was the mix between the live signal coming in and the effect signal going out, and how much reverb do you want to put into it. So they were the faders. Now if we go and look at the VT-4, you still pretty much have the same faders. Okay, the faders are the same, but the big wheel in the center is now allowing you to tune the auto pitch. So you can change, you can actually set out how you're auto pitching, as opposed to what was on the original one, which is basically had two options, 1 or 2. Okay, so you can now dial that in. And you would think there, well, okay, well, I've lost a whole bunch of effects. Well, you actually haven't, because each one of these buttons, vocoder and harmony, etc., give you access to 4 independent effects based around the vocoder or the robot voice, etc. And those are accessed by pressing that and then pressing one of these effect recalls, effectively. So you actually get more effects on the VT-4 than you had on the VT-3. It just doesn't look it straight off bat, and you access those by understanding what the effect differences are on each one of those buttons. You also get the ability to tune it to a key. Is that good or bad? I'm not really sure, but it's the whole idea, I suppose, around that is to try and sort of pitch you up and pitch you down in terms of key. And the other thing, which was on the original VT-3, but you now actually have 4 locations, is effectively you can store 4 scenes for instant recall on this unit. So yes, I think Roland have done a fairly good job of updating this, and all the video presentations I see on the VT-4 so far say that the VT-4 is an improvement over the VT-3. The question is, will I go and buy a VT-4? No, because I still sound awful whether I sing it through a VT-4 or sing it through a VT-3. It wouldn't do anything for my voice, and it wouldn't do anything for my workflow, so I probably wouldn't buy either. But those of you considering a VT-3 or a VT-4, if you can get a cheap second-hand VT-3, well, you know, in terms of, as I said, it's £180 UK sterling. At the moment, if it was discounted to say, well, I don't know, £80, £100, then you might go and buy a VT-3. But from what I can see, the better unit is the VT-4, so I would go and buy the VT-4. There you go. My apologies for actually getting that wrong. But there you go. I've put it right. So user 333, thank you very much. Bye-bye. So this is the point in the video where I turn around to you, my viewer, and say, if you enjoyed the content of this video, please give it a thumbs up. The way the Google and YouTube analytic engines work is that the more likes you get against a video, the more it gets promoted by YouTube and Google, and therefore more people with the similar interests to what you have and I have get to see this content. This channel is driven by my love of music technology. That's what it's called, the Music Tech Guy Thought. If you've got queries, want to ask questions about themes or issues I raise on this channel, please, please, please do. Put your comments into the comment section below the video, and I will try to address whatever issue it is you've raised or whatever question you've raised. If it's something to do with me making future videos in terms of how to do something on a particular piece of equipment I possess, please feel free to say that as well. I can't promise to make videos on all the requests I get, but I do have a jolly good go at making most of them. Around about here is the subscribe button. Again, to do with the YouTube and Google analytic process, the more subscribers the channel gets, the more the channel gets promoted, and the more people get to see the content that you have obviously just watched. If you want to see my latest video, it will be in one of these two boxes on this side of the screen. Also, there is a second box there, and that video will be chosen for you by YouTube based on your YouTube preferences. I look forward to the next time that we interact, and I do mean interact because I always enjoy reading your comments back to me. But for now, bye-bye.